Patsy's once when I was a kid. Sinatra used to go there a lot.
They got a Sinatra room upstairs.
Yeah.
And I have a daughter graduating from Columbia next year, and we're going to have a little reception up there for her. So I'm looking forward to that because she's worked her ass off. So.
Yeah, so when we were there, they snuck, a couple of guys came in with suits to, like, case out the place, you know, because you could see somebody was planning on coming in. They made sure the room was clear. They made sure the path was clear. And then before you know it, more guys came in. Then before you know it, they roped off the room. And then before you know it, here comes Sinatra to eat, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you know who else loved to go to that place during the 90s? The Yankees. They all loved to go up there. And
oh, really?
Yeah, they have a lot of good Billy Martin stories and Reggie Jackson up there. Yeah, so I was always a big baseball fan, so I was intrigued by that. More than Frank. I mean, Frank Sinatra, of course, Frank is, you know, but I was more impressed that Billy Martin was out there hanging out there, right? So
Gary, I mean, he would come back and forth to Tucson.
Oh yeah, he was constantly on the move. You know, he was, and you know, they called him the cobbler. The cobbler, because wherever, I don't know the name of the region in Italy where they make shoes, but he had, you know, family there, and we would joke that he was making other kind of shoes, but you know, they
called the concrete shoes.
Yeah, he was called the cobbler, and he was a great guy. He, in fact, he had claimed, and why wouldn't it be true? Why would he lie to me? You know, that he gave Joe Pesci a start in acting. He would say that because my uncle, my dad's youngest brother, Joe Bonanno Jr., and Gary met when they were in the 60s. They wanted to be actors. And so did Joe Pesci, because, you know, Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons didn't want him. Right?
Really? Didn't want him?
Well, he didn't have a voice. He wasn't a singer, right? He was an actor.
So what was the Five Seasons?
He was a barber at the time, I think, right? And then he got into acting, and those guys would, you know, they all grew up in the neighborhoods, you know, Brooklyn and in New Jersey, but they knew the guys, and they tried to, you know, be those guys in Hollywood. That was how they were going to break in. So Joe Pesci, Joe Bonanno, and Gary Cannellini kind of molded the characters that we see today that are, you know, the wise guys, the sharp, good-looking, smart guys that are quiet, strong, you know.
Right, so in Jersey.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Jersey, Pesci, right?
Yeah, in Jersey, right. They grew up together, and they were always friends through life.
Cannellini, what happened? Something happened with the Hells Angels, I think. It was something, I heard a story.
Yeah. So, you know, my dad, you know, died. My grandfather died in the early 2000s. My dad died in 2008. And this was, you know, 2011.
This is after all.
Yeah. And my cousin, Greg, the one that was in that picture with Gary, just, he lived in Lafayette, California. Greg there in the blue shirt. And he, you know, Lafayette's a nice, affluent area. In fact, you know, his neighbor was Joe Montana.
That speaks for itself.
So, right. So, anyway, but, you know, Greg and his wife, they went separate ways, and he had to get a separate house. And, you know, so he moved into this house, and he was taking care of the kids one night, and they got home, and everything was gone. They had been cleaned out.
They robbed the house. And it turned out there was this... in California.
In Lafayette, California, a locksmith in the neighborhood that...
In that affluent neighborhood.
Right. And this locksmith was making keys. Yeah, there it is. It's Lafayette, California. It's just on the other side of the Berkeley Hills and the Oakland Hills. Very nice. You know, they filed a police report. Hey, there's nothing we can do, and whatever. A couple of weeks later, my cousin gets a phone call from a pawn shop in Oakland, which is a few miles away. And he says, hey, I got this briefcase here. I found a business card in it. I have a feeling this might be yours. And my cousin said, oh, yeah. So the pawn shop calls my cousin because they found his business card. And, you know, this is 2011, so we have cell phones and everything. And, you know, so he goes and gets his briefcase, and he goes to the Lafayette police or whatever, the county sheriff, the authorities, and they say, oh, yeah. You know, they find this guy. They know who this guy is. But they tell Greg, hey, he's part of a bigger DEA investigation, and we're not going to do anything. So Greg says, well, what am I going to do, right? So he goes home, and at that time, my dad was in San Quentin, and, you know, Greg would go and visit, you know, my dad and told him what happened. He got robbed and everything.
San Quentin, this is after the Hertz incident?
Oh, no. This was after the Hertz incident, right? This was what resulted was a conviction and time. Years later. This is, you know, way later. My dad had passed away in 2008. This is 2011. Anyway, but Greg tells Gary his story of woe, right? He's been robbed, and the cops say there's nothing they can do because the feds are doing, or the DEA.
How long after he tells them?
Oh, like a month.
So a month goes by.
All of a sudden, and my cousin Greg gets a phone call from sounds like a nice gentleman who says, your uncle wants me to look into an incident that you had. Tell me the story. So Greg tells him, hey, yeah, I got robbed. They found that they know who the guy is, but the authorities won't do anything. So the guy on the phone just says, well, okay, I'll get back to you. Another couple of weeks go by. The guy says, hey, I got good news for you. And he goes, what? And he goes, I think, I know. Tell me exactly what you want. I don't know if I can get everything back, but what exactly do you want? He says, my dad went to USC. His dad had passed away from ALS or MLS, sorry. And, he had his class ring, USC class ring, and, personal pictures.
Sentimental stuff.
That's what he wanted. He didn't care about the furniture and everything. So the guy says, okay. Another couple of weeks go by. And Greg at this point had been separated, and he was taking care of his kids. They pull into their driveway in this house in Lafayette, and there's a big truck, a moving truck, and two guys on motorcycles, choppers, Hell's Angels. I mean, they're wearing their rockers. The Hell's Angels are like, what is going on? So, yeah, we got good news for you. We found all your stuff. So Greg's like, that's great. So they have these, I think they're called plebes, or the trainee guy. They unloaded everything, put it in his house. Prospects, that's it. And they, they sent them on the way, and the other two guys on the bikes, the Hell's Angels guy, they went, Greg invited them for dinner, and they stayed, and they told him that the story was that their boss was in San Quentin years before when my father was there, right?
Was the guy's name Sonny Barger?
Of course, that's exactly. So he stole the punchline. But anyway, they were all connected, right? So the Black Panthers, the Hells Angels, and the Bonanno family in the Bay Area in the 70s and 80s, they was like a cooperative or a triad of, they got along. And that's why you don't hear about any, really, I mean, besides the at Altamont Pass, they kept it pretty quiet in the Bay Area.
Right, they worked together.
They cooperated, right? And anyway, those cooperations from the 60s and 70s, where guys are inside, they were helping each other out. So, the guy said he got a call. Gary got a call. I mean, Gary called somebody who knew that pawn shop that had called him. The pawn shop guy knew who the locksmith, knew the story about the locksmith, and got everything back.
Wow, nice.
So that was the power of the triad, the Hells Angels and the Black Panthers and the mob in the Bay Area.
You know about the whole, you don't know about the whole, I opened up a bar called Toby Keats. I love this bar and grill. So the first one I opened before Tucson was in Mesa. That was the first one.
Riverview, when it was brand new.
Yeah, Mesa Riverview. Opened the bar up, and here comes the Hells Angels. The Mongolians are coming in there, all these biker gangs, because they're trying to put, claim on the place between them.
Right, yeah.
Well, me, I can't have that in the place because, I had families coming in there.
Right.
People coming in there. They see.
Toby Keats, that was the wrong place for it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so they thought like maybe it was going to turn into a biker bar, right? Yeah. It was one night. I guess what happened was one competing gang was coming in there with their jackets and stuff.
The colors. Yeah.
Colors, they call them colors. And I guess the Hells Angels were worried that they were going to put claim on the place and they weren't going to get whatever the case was, right? So it was one night. They all came in there. There's about 20 of them. So I had a lot of bouncers.
What year was this? What years was this? In the 90s?
Back in,
late 90s, early 2000s?
2009, 2010.
Oh, okay, that late. All right.
So one night I got all these bouncers there because I had to have heavy security, because the drinking and the concerts.
It was a big place. Rowdy, right?
20,000 square foot place, 25,000 square foot place. What had happened was we approached them. I had all like ex UFC fighters.
Oh, as your
rugby
staff?
Yeah, like these kids were, they knew how to fight.
Right.
So it was even. Like it was just 20 of my guys, 20 of their guys, whatever it was. So we approached them and said, hey, you got to leave. And a fight breaks out, right? The power was this high. Everybody's swinging.
Right, yeah.
I says, here we go.
Was this the Hells Angels?
Yeah, with the Hells Angels.
The actual Hells Angels, right.
My guys with them, and they're swinging it. I mean, just this fight went on for 20 minutes, 10 minutes till the cops got there. Everybody leaves. Nobody gets pinched. Nobody presses charges. But my guys got the better of them. Like, they didn't win, So separate from this, I used to go to a cigar store, cigar lounge, up in like North Scottsdale near Cave Creek. It's just, you'll see what I'm getting at, right? And I would go in there and smoke. And like when you meet a bunch of guys, the only thing you got in common is you're having a cigar.
Right.
We never traded notes. We never said and got into our personal business. It's just like, hey, there's Tori, there's Frank, there's Sonny,
Right.
And we just know each other from the cigar lounge.
Right.
And we all get along. We go to lunch. We either smoke a cigar. That's our relationship. Well, this guy, Sonny, I didn't know anything about him. It was Sonny Barger.
I got a good Sonny Barger story, too.
From Hell's Angels, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm there one day. He gets a phone call, I guess from the chapter in Mesa, about this fight in the bar and everything. So anyway,
there he is. Yep.
Yeah. He's a good guy. I think he passed away since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I knew him, he does have the trick.
Well, before,
thing. Yeah.
This is before he had before he got the thing with his throat.
Right.
He used to love to smoke cigars. This is before that. So what happens is this.
I think he still did it when he had it, but that was another story.
Yeah, probably. What happened was, after the fight happens, right, one of the guys from the chapter or something comes in the bar and says, I want to talk to the owner of the place. Now, I can't get into the particulars of the story because I'm still on supervised release.
Right.
After I'm off paper, I can tell the whole story. Right? So I had a meeting with them, and it didn't go well for them, right? They knew that, hey, you're not going to come in here and put claim on the place. And if it was I was going to turn into a biker bar, it would be a Hell's Angels bar. Yeah. You don't got to worry about Mongolians, all this other bullshit.
But
I'm not involved with. Right? Yeah. Sonny gets the phone call, comes back, and says, yeah, it was one of my guys. They called me about this beef and this Toby Keats. And he thought it was from Jersey. Some fucking crazy Italian guy from Jersey. so I'm hearing him. Right. And I said, Sonny, that's me.
I'm that crazy guy.
He goes, what? I said, yeah, I owned the Toby. Why don't you tell me? I said, what do I got to tell you for?
Yeah, none of your business.
Yeah. He goes, you know who I am? I go, no. You're Sonny. Yeah. You're my friend. I smoke cigars with. Right. So the guy that's with him starts laughing. Yeah. He says, Frank, you really don't know who he is? I said, no, I don't know who he is. So he pulls up, Google and everything else. Yeah. He said, he founded the Hells Angels.
Right.
I go, really?
Yeah.
He goes, yeah.
Yeah.
He said, so anyway, now I go like this time. I said, Sonny, listen. So I tell him the story.
Yeah.
He calls the guy up. He said, let me tell you something. This guy's like family. Okay? You don't go near this guy's bar. He's with us and this and that and everything else. He sent word out to the whole country. When I had all the bars all across the country, we would get these incidents where Hells Angels would try to come in or whoever tried to come in. He put word out all across the country.
And then done.
Hands off Toby Keats.
Nice.
Because Toby sometimes would come out with these songs where the song that started the whole thing was called American Ride. You know the song?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where he's on a motorcycle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember the video.
So they had in their head, well, American Ride, it's a motorcycle place. It's a biker bar now, right? Anyway.
Red Solo Cup. I feel you.
Yeah. So now what happens is, after we get that straightened out, right? He goes like this to me one day. He says, hey, now I know who he is, right? He knows I own the place. Yeah. I invited him into Toby's. I took him in the VIP lounge. We had lunch and everything. And he says, hey, what are you doing next week? And I said, why? He said, I'm having a little get-together up in Cave Creek. He said, I want you to come. They were I didn't know it was going to be a big thing. Like, they come from every state.
As I was going to ask you if you had been to the place up in Cave Creek.
Yeah, Harold's and Buffalo Chip.
Yeah. Well, and then he lived up there, too. So I got to go to the house. I felt privileged.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. At that time, I was driving a Lexus. I got Tommy Bahama shorts and flip-flops. I'm just thinking it's just me, him, and a couple of guys. I'm driving up there, and I see all these bikes coming in, all different states, this state, that state. I'm like, what the f***?
Like Sturgis.
Hundreds and hundreds of bikes all over the place, right? So here I am, I finally find a spot. I pull up. They're looking at me like, who the f***
is this guy?
Yeah, Tommy Bahama, flip-flops. You're driving a f***ing Lexus. You don't belong here, right? So I get out of the car, and right away they come over. What are you doing here? Well, I'm here to see Sonny. They're just looking at me. They go, and you here to see Sonny? I go, yeah, tell him Frank's here. So they went. I said, where is he? Never mind where he's at. Yeah. So they went. He was underneath a tree. Like there was like like when you go to Buffalo Chip over there, there's like a hill and there's like a tree. And he's like standing underneath there. And everybody's guarding him, They walk over and they say, hey, this guy, Frank. Oh, yeah, let him in. So it was like the Red Sea opened up,
Right.
And I walk in there and he sees me, gives me a hug and everything. So everybody knew now I know him.
Right.
He's looking at me. He's going, "You got any jeans?
Yeah, you dressed up
boots, jeans? What the f?" He goes. So we stood there and stuff. But what an experience, to see how they meet up and they all get together and all that stuff. And we sat there, we ate, drank, had a cigar and everything, had a good time.
There it is, yeah.
He invited me up to Sturgis, and I never went, but I hear that's a...
Yeah, I've never been.
It's a fun time.
It sounds like it would be once in a lifetime
but
thing.
Sonny was good.
Yeah.
Sonny was good people.
So, yeah, he was
good. He was good to me.
He was...
You fuck around and playing with the wrong pistol. My shit got a broken safety. Flow sumo, this ain't a game, Uno. Shout out to my Usos, killing bills like Uma. Balls travel from Pluto, big truck soprano, gabagool and prosciutto, kicking ill like judo, judge and jury like Judy. Hoes think they knew me, flows flow through me. Nike gray hoodie, contemplating money. Bees swarming like honey, watch your little homie filter through the phone.